Hey everybody, welcome back to another SoCal Silverado Saturday. Today's project, I am going to be doing this thing. Yep. Wheels it came with, not so pretty. Lots of wear and not happy with it. So, got the truck up on stands. Well, front is on a stand, back is on the jack with a secondary stand for safety. And for the last hour, I have been working on one wheel. One wheel, yes. I used some Purple Power degreaser and just normal scouring pad. So try to clean it up as best I could. Then hit it with some 320 sandpaper. That's what took the majority of the time. You can see how this wheel is, the sheen is gone. Even when I wipe the dust off, the sheen isn't really there. One thing I am worried about is, I'm not really sure if, there it is. Yep. You can see how this wheel is slightly ribbed. I'm worried that the sanding didn't get into each one of those little crevices, and that may affect the lifetime of the paint and its adherence. But this is how they were looking, and that is after a good clean. So not looking so great anyways. So I figure there's not much to be lost. It's worth a shot. I know some other people do plasti dip, but from what I've read, that is more like a rubber coating. The more layers you do, apparently the better, but it doesn't last as long. So since these wheels, they just do not look good. No matter how clean you get them, I'm thinking the spray paint is the way to go. Maybe a number of very light coats. Yeah, that's all I got for now. I've done a number of things to this Silverado. I got it just over a year ago, with like 73,000 miles, I think. And it had a really bad rake. It had like a 3-inch rake, because the front shocks were the struts. The front struts were really worn out, and didn't like that. The front, the air dam right there wouldn't even clear the bumpers in parking spaces, and that's pretty pathetic for a truck. So I didn't video any of what I did, but these are Rancho quick lifts. I threw in a 1/2-inch spacer up here so that there would still be enough threads for the castle nuts to grab. Upgraded the upper control arms to rough country with the corrected ball joint angle, because when you raise the truck, your angles go down and that puts stress on the balls. Sorry about that. The ball joints. So that's that. I also I just wanted to go as high as I could, so I put 1/2-inch spacers under here. That's the max I could do, really feeling comfortable, because right here, sorry, let me get out of the way of the sway bar. So you see the clearance here between the CV axle and this nut right here? on four-wheel drive trucks, at least this 2014 Silverado, you can't really do a very large bottom spacer because it'll interfere with your CV axle. So that's a little 1/2 inch spacer there, 1/2 inch on the top, plus the advertised 2 inches lift that the quick lift Rancho struts give. I also did upgrade the alignment cams to Dirt King. These pre-drilled holes I feel like are a much better option than the continuous slot that the stock ones come with, because you hit some rough bumps, this pin can shift in the slot even if it's torqued to spec. So that's another thing I did. And I took the skid plate off. I did do, let me see if I can get up in here. So there's the passenger side CV boot, and right there, what you're looking at, that black thing, that is a Supreme Suspensions front diff drop kit. That bolt that you see there, I had to go buy that myself. That's a grade, I think it's a grade 8 bolt. But the bolts provided were not long enough. Okay, so after a brief intermission, sorry, I had to go take care of some other stuff. But back to current project. I did hit this with, this is 3 coats now. That guy right there. It's not quite as flat as I thought it would be. There's a little bit of sheen to it. I guess that's all right. And there is a little bit of orange peel texture. It's not like a true pristine finish as far as the texture is concerned, but it looks a whole lot better than all of this garbage. This wheel took me just under an hour to sand all of it. I even popped out the cap. The little lip, little edge around here is almost impossible to sand. And around the, I think this is called the bead, this is pretty difficult to sand too, so I had to like fold the sandpaper and hook it around. But I think I'm pretty happy with this as opposed to that. It just looks uniform. It doesn't have all the scratch marks over it. And another thing I think I might do, sorry about that, another thing I might do while I have the tires off is, for some reason, even though the struts are new, Rancho quick lift, I added 2-leaf springs in the rear and upgraded the rear blocks to 2-inch lift blocks by Supreme. Why do I keep doing that? Which was about a little less than a 7/8 of an inch lift over the factory blocks. Do not stack blocks. Old blocks out, new blocks in. It's a little complicated. I had to do a bit of research to understand the language that different suspension companies use about their blocks. It's not an actual, in the rear, it's not an actual 2-inch lift block, because you take the old one out. So on this truck, the original block was I don't remember how much it was, but the new ones that I got the 2-inch lift blocks from Supreme were about 7/8 of an inch higher than the stock ones. So that was about what I needed. Although the pins were too long, I had to take my grinder and cut the pins down about 1/8 of an inch so they wouldn't bottom out into the axle. That was another thing. The grinder was at the job site, so I took the back end off, dropped the axle, and then found out that I couldn't actually do it because the pins were bottoming out on the axle, so I had to put it all back together. Anyways, those things happen. It's all part of the learning curve, which is why I'm posting this video. I wish I would have posted more videos as I had done all this, because it could have helped other people. But by all means, if you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them in comments. I'll try to answer them to the best of my experience. So what I'm planning to do while I have the tires off is, aside from rotating front to back, because the front ones have more wear than the back. I know they're almost shot, but new tires. I'm trying to get some KO2s. They're like $1,500 So anyhow, the passenger side here in the front is about 3/4 inch higher from the ground to the top of the fender right there, and I've measured it in numerous different parking lots, lots of places with slightly varying ground circumstances, and it's average 3/4 inch higher than the driver's side. Some people call this the Chevy lean, although that more often refers to the back end. But so what I'm thinking about doing is, while I have this all apart, is taking out this lower spacer right here. It's a half inch actual thickness spacer, but with front suspension, actual thickness does not equate to lift height. So taking that half inch out may be more close to 3/4 inch less in height. It's not really what I want to do, because obviously I wish that everything would be equal, same parts on the driver's side, same parts on the passenger side, but it's worth a shot in trying to level the front out side to side. But yeah, that's about it for today. I'm obviously not going to get to the driver's side on the wheels. Sun's going down. I had to do some other stuff. That's just how it goes when you do all this work yourself. Hope you have a great one. I may update on the other side, but it's pretty much the same process, so there's not much else to explain. Hope you have a great one, and hope that this may help somebody else. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a good one. Alright, so as I had mentioned earlier, I did take this half inch spacer out from underneath the passenger side strut. I am having difficulty getting the strut to align with the lower control arm. Not everything goes easy like they show in all the videos. Everything is just slip the bolt in, tighten the nut, perfect. No. I've got this bungee here It's hooked around, you know, some of the wheel lugs, and then up to the top of the like strut housing, whatever you call it, so that it doesn't drop too far. I didn't completely undo the sway bar link. That's another kind of safety measure. I undid it most of the way. You can see threads are just below the nut, and I took the brake line off of the upper control arm. But now what I'm having to do is push this strut towards the center line of the truck to get that bolt to drop down in the lower control arm. So it's all worth it. Another thing I should mention, I did actually, just after recording that, get the bolt to drop in to the lower control arm. So happy about that. Another thing, I'm sure some of you experienced this. Don't tighten all your bolts or screws or whatever it is until you're sure that all of them are started in their holes or the threads or whatever. Don't tighten it until all of them are started. Another tip, I've been doing, you know, mechanical work, home remodels. I work as a finished carpenter. Sometimes we just forget. There's another reminder. Don't do it. We're back again. Just found out that this is not gonna work. I have to leave this spacer in because the bolt that some smart guy decided to choose is not an all thread. So this is the reason why I can't remove that spacer, because I need more threads on the shank of this bolt, and they're not there. This bolt I custom cut to length, and it was perfect. But I'm gonna have to I struggled with this, remove the spacer, to just find out that I have to put it back. That happens. I seem to be saying that a lot. This happens. Yeah. And this is a 16 millimeter head. I only have a 16 millimeter socket. I don't have any 16 millimeter box wrenches. So having to use crescent wrench on one end. You can do it though. It's worth it. It's worth it. Okay, so I'm starting to feel like a comedic mechanic, if that's a thing. I feel like Scotty Kilmer is kind of a comedic mechanic. Rev your engines! Yeah, that's what I'm starting to feel like. Clown time. So, I got successfully the bolts for the lower part of the strut aligned with the lower control arm. Wonderful. Got them all tightened up. No torque wrench needed. Just use the handy ratchet, and the spec is guten tight, please, as they do in Germany. And this is why I feel like comedic mechanic. I just put the 10 millimeter on this bolt to secure the brake cables and the ABS to the upper control arm, and what do you know? Boom, sheared off bolt. Isn't that lovely? Just so special. Exactly what I wanted to happen on this Silverado Saturday. And I was using this Milwaukee 1/4 inch impact from, I don't know, this thing is probably like 12 years old. Milwaukee grade makes good tools, apparently. I didn't really think this had it in it anymore, but apparently it does. So, tap. What do we do next?